Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming today. We are very excited for this session as we're about to deep dive into one of the most burning challenges in cybersecurity, especially in the age of AI. Reflectiz research revealed that while 64% of third-party applications can access sensitive data without justification, security leaders still show a critical gap. While 81% of security teams rank web attacks as a high priority, only 39% have deployed dedicated solutions to address them. And in this session, we will cover what is actually running on your website without your security team knowing it, from supply chain risk to real-world case studies. And what I am most excited about is the complete view of security and EdTech on how AI is changing the browser threat landscape and what responsible vendor governance looks like at scale. So to understand further this burning issue and the risks that come with it, we brought together two experts, each bringing his own unique view. They will come up and share about themselves in a bit. Idan Cohen, who is the CEO and co-founder of Reflectiz, and Omri Ariav, the director of product from Taboola. So just before we're starting, I want to start by taking a moment and sharing that if web security is a challenge for you and your team, feel free to reach out through the email you will receive with the recording after the session. So without any further ado, I will get Idan and Omri to join us. Here they are. Just a sec. Omri, hey, Idan, hi, thank you for coming.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Hey, good morning.
Guys, so I'm handing over the mic to you, and thank you for the session and good luck.
Let me just share my screen. Good. Good morning, everyone. Omri, very happy to have you with us today. For me, it was a long time I planned to do this kind of webinar, getting the marketing and security to speak in the same room to the same people because it's the same challenge. We both have the same goals. One of the companies, our clients, to succeed, and the marketing advertising are able to create more revenue, more business, more tractions to the site. But we, from the security side, want to find a way to make it secure. Want to make the way to the clients can work and do whatever they want in order to accelerate their growth, but still not to be opening for a new type of risk, and especially now with the AI risk outside there that every attacker can do whatever he wants and create his own code in just 5 seconds. You want to make sure you are protected. I will say a couple of words about myself. I'm Idan, the CEO and co-founder of Reflectiz, founded the company a couple of years ago. But cybersecurity is what I did from my youth. Came from the more hacking war, penetration testing, cyber attack simulation, wrote my own code for years and all my attack path as well. And now I'm also focusing on go-to-market and working with our clients, but my origin is in the technical work, especially in the JavaScript world, in the web, WebPT, and such. Reflectiz, which I hope some of you or all you already know, is the web exposure company. We understand that anyone that wants to live and operate on the web have tons of risk and challenges and exposures. It can be security exposures, as we are going to talk today a lot, from third party collecting data, a fourth party joining to your site without you knowing about it, and so many other risks we are going to cover along this great webinar. But it's not stop in security. You have also multiple privacy aspects and PII leakage and tracking problems. So we know that if you're operating on the web, you have tons of challenges you want maybe has to help you to resolve. And actually lately also came heavily to the offensive hub and actually providing a full agentic penetration testing, web-based penetration testing, so you can have a fully 360 overview, validations, vulnerabilities, all in one place. We are talking today about the web risk and with the focus on what we are calling supply chain risk or web supply chain risk. And this is why I'm super happy to have Taboola with us. When you think about marketing or advertising, it's such a complicated route of people. You have advertisers, you have publishers, you have exchanges along the way, and all of them are operating just in the browser of the user. So you as a user coming to a website and you want to read an article and you get it advertising. And the advertising doesn't just come from the publisher. It comes from the publisher that use tools like maybe Taboola, and Taboola need to work with other advertisers, create a full connections or chains of activity, or I will call it chains of supply chain. And suddenly you have three, four, five, 10 third party or fourth party or fifth party all running on your browser. And you're asking yourself, did I know about them? Is it something that I am approving of having? Is it something that I actually approve? Is it passing my SDLC? Like I have a full SDLC process and I keep checking all the code I have in my production. Who approved those fourth parties? Who approved the big supply chain? Did they even know about them? If they're being hacked or they're being changed, I'm responsible or someone else responsible? What is my control here? And in us in Reflected, we are seeing it all day long when our clients suddenly telling us, hey, you tell me I have a new fourth party, but I never approved it. And we're telling him, yes, you are right. It's not you that approved them. It's one of the third parties, one of the tag managers that approved it. And this is part of the stuff we want to cover today. But before I'm going to get more heavily on the details, let's let Omri share some stuff about himself. Omri.
Hi, thank you, Dan. Thank you for having me. So my name is Omri Ariav. I'm Director of Product at Taboola. I work mainly on data, identity, attribution, measurement, and privacy products. And my angle today is simple. What does it look like from inside an advertising platform whose code runs on other people's website? So Idan and Reflectiz are bringing the security view. I will bring the advertiser platform view. As you can see, Taboola running and powering more than 600 million daily active users a day. We run both sides of the marketplace. We help publishers monetize their audiences, and with Realize, our performance advertising platform, we help advertising drive outcomes beyond search and social, like leads, purchases, and signups. And for this topic, the key point is that our technology can touch both publishers and advertiser pages. So performance, privacy, and transparency are product responsibilities, not just technical details, and I'm happy to be here.
Good, good. And you want to say something about Realize?
Yeah, so Realize it's our new performance advertising platform. We launched it almost 2 years ago. We are focusing on helping advertisers, performance advertiser mainly, to drive outcomes beyond search and social into the open web and apps.
Nice, nice. And I think also performance is part of the discussion here. It creates a lot of challenges. Performance is JavaScript in the base, a lot of bidding and optimization during the page visits. So I expect we're going to talk it a bit more later on.
Yeah, so as we said, and we are all living in the world of AI, obviously, and AI makes everything a lot cheaper. And I think the simple idea here is that attackers can create more fake stuff faster, and the barrier of technical knowledge is lowered as long as you can expense those tokens. For example, it's easier to create fake accounts or fake emails at scale. It's easier to create fake websites or cloaking. The convincing copy, creating creatives now, it's one prompt away from Nano Banana in Gemini. That it's the part of the web that are hardest to review. Attackers that are changing the landing pages, swapping the creative, and utilizing or leveraging the browser side, client side behavior. I can share, I think that a common example would be the websites that are called MFA, made for advertisers, that are built mainly to look real, capture ad spend by creating fake content. We see it mainly, and also Google is fighting it. And our answer in Taboola is to scale that as well. If they use AI to leverage attack, we use AI to protect or to better cover what we are doing. For example, one of the things that we are doing in our creative review is AI-assisted review that help us find machine-generated abuse, either in the form of cloaking, either in the form of fake creatives, and etc. And by leveraging AI there, we are helping our compliance team to respond really fast for those kind of things.
And
But
Omri, you're seeing
yeah.
it a lot today already in Taboola platform, in Taboola advertising. You're already seeing a lot of those fake code, fake pages, trying already to abuse stuff, or it's more preparing for a future use that you think going to come?
So I would say it's like somewhere in the middle. We've seen increase, but as someone said, you don't know what you don't know. So while we are able to protect ourselves using AI on what we know that are the common attack ways, what we are concerned most, and I think this is what Reflectiz is bringing on board, is help companies like Taboola to address what we don't know that we don't know, and new attack verticals that are scaling up by using AI, which make everything faster, as I said. So I would say that the answer is somewhere in between.
And the management understand it. So when you're coming to the management and tell them AI changing the world and security is risk, the management understand that the budget and security need to go there, or it's still an awareness state when you need to convince the company to shift mind, this is the new risk?
No, definitely. I think that we launched internally several products, and we heavily invested in internal stuff that help us to be much more prepared and protected for those kind of things. I think that proved that our management understand that this threat is real and that they need to allocate enough resources to protect ourselves internally, to insert new cyber-based approaches and development techniques, and even proactively developing LLM-based defensive tools that help us to protect our JavaScript tags and ensure that we are not vulnerable externally.
Nice.
I think that the main thing, or one of the biggest concepts that is making a comeback, supply chain attacks, and we all familiar with the recent open source attacks that we experienced, like famous third party being vulnerable and deliver cyber threats. Mainly the same blind spot or the same concept also hides in the chain between advertiser and publisher. So in security, supply chain risk means someone gets into the chain upstream and affects everyone downstream. In advertiser, one change is the reseller path. Those are all of the immediate actors that sits between the advertiser and the publisher, especially when the chain goes beyond the direct advertiser or direct sellers. And the more complicated the path is, the easier it is for bad actors to hide, mainly, I think, in programmatic channels. So Taboola has been compliant with many IAB's mitigations, such as the ad TXT that tells you who is authorized to sell the publisher inventory, up ads TXT, seller JSON, who tells you the actual selling and the different implementation that those standards have within the supply chain. And I think that checking both does not remove all risk, but it makes the path more visible and gives unauthorized seller fewer places to hide. So we're trying to deliver on our fair share of the responsibility, but I think that it leads us to believe that this is a shared responsibility. No single company owns the whole page, but it's put burdens on Taboola to ensure that we're doing everything that we can. And what we are trying to do is try to split what we can control fully and what we are dependent on companies like Reflectiz or our client themselves. So let's start with the Taboola lane. So we are responsible that our code will behave. It's like you enter a guest to your house and you expect the guest to behave. So we believe that we are guests on the publisher or the advertiser landing page house, and we need to behave. So that starts firstly from developer experience. We need to ensure that our code on page is easy to implement, clear to implement. Obviously, does not bring with itself page performance issues or bugs or, God forbid, downtime. And that includes DX, but also security. So we have a clear documentation and we have clear guidelines for humans and for agents who are implementing our code, how to behave. And we always set ourselves best to Google best practices and guidelines of loading time and what we can or cannot do on the page. That's one thing. On the campaigns, either if it's self-serve advertiser that uses our platform directly, or if it's in a big enterprise with its own account manager, whenever they submit a campaign or creative, we have a policy and content teams, and we're heavily investing not just on agents, but also on humans that will have enough headcount and enough resources to ensure that this campaign or this creative and whatever tracking code that they use is anti-fraud. We check that constantly and from a publisher point of view, from our pixel on advertiser website point of view. We are also different crawlers that checks for consent or for whatever is happening on the landing page, post the browser rendering, different geos, different techniques. And the thing is that whenever we found something, or whenever our client found something, or whenever companies like Reflectiz found something, we have a clear SLA on to engage from security, privacy, and legal teams. So in the unlikely event that something happens, we are able to mitigate it as soon as possible.
Yes.
I think that's pretty much shared, like how do we see responsibility on that matter.
Good. So let me go a bit more to the details because you talk about some interesting points that I want to explore. But let's just make the even on the ground. What is the risk or why is tag so complicated? So everyone that have a website and using tag managers or does tag directly on the site need to understand the tags are actually scripts. They are JavaScript. JavaScript have the full access to run any type of code they run on the user browsers. So you have Taboola there, but you also have Google Analytics there, or any kind of TikTok or Timo or whatever you're using. But you also have other tags. You can have tags for your analytics tool. You can have tags for some kind of performance tool. You can have tags even for security anti-bot tools. So all of those are just type of JavaScript that's running on your site. But the big challenge or the big interesting change that you have with those tag managers and the advertising world especially is that those tags are usually opening door to the site. So they are not stopping in one script. After that, more and more scripts coming to the site, what I will call fourth-party scripts, that are actually other people code that are using the tag manager, Google Tag Manager, for example, as a door opener. Why you have it? Because sometimes, for example, in advertising, you want to bring other advertisers to bid on the site, or they decide if they want to use some kind of the impression of the user. So they're bringing more scripts and more scripts. And suddenly you may be approved one tag manager, you may be able to approve only Taboola, you may be able to approve only Google, but you're getting more and more fourth parties to the site. Those fourth parties, again, are code. They are JavaScript. Sometimes they are called Pixel, but Pixel, again, it's code, it's JavaScript behind the scene. And by nature, the way that the web is built, the way that the browser works, is that everyone have the same permissions. So this fourth party that's coming after, and maybe you didn't even know about it, by a third party brought to the site, can actually do whatever it wants on the site. It can delete the site or delete the HTML. It can try to collect data from the user, password, search field, credit card in something called web skimming, which is a very non-attack vector, or it can just do the work it's supposed to do. But now, for everyone from the security point of view, think about, we are investing a lot in our SDLC process, right? And we're investing a lot in making sure that every code that comes into production is being tested, validated. We're doing SaaS, we're doing DaaS, we're doing all those code review processes and testing processes to make sure that what you have in production is secured. And then you have Google Tag Manager or any other kind of tool, and this tool can just add more code. You actually have a full marketplace for that. The Google Tag Managers or other advertising have a marketplace that can bring tool to yourself, and that's the risk that at least we at Reflect is trying to solve. We understand the need. We understand why you need to have tags running on your site. We understand why you need to have advertising platforms running on your site. But how can the CISO, how can the security know that when they want to be executed is the only thing that's being executed? And how will you make sure that no fourth party is adding to the site by mistake or not by mistake that can create a security or privacy risk? If by mistake, advertising platform are now using a third party you're not allowed to, and now we have another friend running on your site and collecting user data. And those kind of stuff we are seeing many, in almost 60% or more than 60% of our clients have some kind of misconfiguration in the tag managers, meaning they have tags that loaded not supposed to log or tag that loaded on the wrong places. And by design, those also asking for a lot of permissions, like reading the user activity, tracking, of course, user activity because you want to run campaign of him. So it's something that is very, very common. And we are thinking about supply chain, we are actually trying to build to our clients the full length of which third party bringing when and what, so we'll know exactly and may be able to protect, block, remediate if something goes wrong. Now, Omri, I will ask you, so Taboola also bring a lot of third parties to the site, or fourth party is my language. How do you know that what you're bringing to the site is comply with the client standard, so you not introduce something that maybe don't want to have in the site?
That's a good question. I think I'm covering it on the next slide. So if you
So
can
let me
quickly skip.
click one, this one.
Yeah. So I think, well, obviously there are all of the legal approvals, and there is with advertiser the IO contract with publishers, like strict legal and contractual guidelines on what we are allowed or not allowed to do, and we are obviously compliant. I'm also setting aside all of the different regulations out there of the European Union and different states in the US of what we can or cannot do with the user data. But I think that when it comes to those fourth party scripts, which are essential to the attack visibility as an ecosystem, we try to see that the initial approval, the ones that happens after our user submits the creative or submits the creative, that's not the finish line. So obviously there are manual checks and AI power checks to review and approve the creative from a policy point of view, from a content point of view, and from a security point of view, but that's not the finish line. So once the creative is submitted, scanned, and reviewed, after approval, we are still keeping a close look on the landing pages, and to ensure that nothing is changes, no cloaking. We also run the tags themselves in a sandbox environment. Whenever we meet or whenever a client want to introduce a new tracking script that they want to use, to ensure that they are not malicious. And if everything is going down, or if the change is detected, or if something is going on, we either immediately remove the creative and block the landing page, taking it back to a manual approval process, or that we are triaging if something more worse happened. But the main segue here is that the initial approval is not the finish line. And in order to vet campaigns and in order to vet fourth-party scripts, you need to have a continuous way of monitoring them, sandboxing them, and ensure that they are meeting a good security standard. One check is not enough, obviously.
It's funny that you're using the word sandboxing, because that's when we started Reflectiz, that was exactly our focus, to understand that even after all the approvals have been done and we are hoping we can trust all the third parties and vendors, as you said, approval is not enough, or is not the finish line in that case. You want to see the execution, what actually happening on the page, what actually running there, to make sure that what you intended to have, it's what you actually happen. And again, and let me be clear, It's not that everyone malicious. Many times, that's something we are seeing all time long. You have mistakes, you have misconfigurations. Marketing wanted to do something and use Taboola as they're supposed to use Taboola, but forget to limit some vendor, forget to limit some page, forget to limit some kind of input you don't want them to read. And then by mistake, you have data leakage or at least potential data leakage. So what we are seeing is not always malicious code, someone injecting code on the chain. It's a lot of mistakes that happen because marketing want to run fast, and marketing not always coming from the security area and think all day long about limitations and permissions guards. And then you have a pixel running on a login area. And pixel running on a login area, meaning that in theory, with bad configuration, it can have access to username and password. And that's something maybe you don't want to have. Or maybe by mistake, and that's happening actually a lot lately, you have those advertising tools running after authentication area. So usually when you have a website, you have what we call before the gate, before the authentication, and post authentication, where you have your own user data or maybe sensitive data. And usually there you don't want to run advertising tools. You can, but with limit in a lot of protection. And if you by mistake, because the developers even, not the marketing, the developers put the tag on the wrong location, now those third-party, fourth-party in theory can have access, and then you have a risk that you may want to resolve. Omri, how do you think about detection in Taboola?
So, yeah, sorry. So the simple idea in detection stack is that no single check catches the increasing abuse that we are seeing, that we just discussed. But we do believe that there should be 3 layers when it comes to submitting new creative, a new campaign. And we use those layers across any campaign or creative lifecycle. So the first thing is the creative review. Okay, so in Taboola, we have relatively large content review team that used to review creatives manually back at the day. And as years passed and technology got better and AI got introduced, we empowered them with lots of tools that help them, one, to work in much more scale, and two, detect stuff that previously were really hard to detect, and that, for example, you needed to have a developer to run those checks. So that's the first layer, the creative review or the content review. The second thing would be traffic defense against invalid traffic, bots, cloaking, malvertising, account takeover, on abnormal logins. So we are constantly ensuring that, for example, all of our users are enforced to have two-step authentication, that we are always, as I said before, try to mimic situation where the landing page might change after approval, and we keep either using IAB standards or other third parties to easily detect bots or inhuman traffic. So that will be the second layer. And the third layer, I think it's the live page checks after the approval. As I said, this is where we don't have any magic detector. The point is that the different moments, the page might look different, and that you need to understand that until the campaign is being removed or archived, you need to routinely check, even for, long lasting accounts who've been working with us. You can never know when one of their accounts were hacked. So we'll keep running those checks on live pages after they go live. And that's
Actually, it's
how we
funny you're
try
saying
to.
it. Actually, it's funny because many times our clients asking us, okay, we tested now, we did one scan. What's the problem? It's good enough. And we are keep telling
Mhm.
them it have to be
Yep,
continuous. And even if today it's perfect and tomorrow is perfect, and it can be a perfect for 2 months or 3 months, you never know when the
exactly.
change is going to happen that's going to create the breach. As I said before, for misconfiguration or to attack, or now with the AI attacks, it could the continuously matter, I think, and I would say in the entire cybersecurity, not only in the web, continuous is now the key. We are all understand that the gap to attack or the cost to attack become much lower. Threat attackers can create easily a new code, easy polymorphic code, can change the attack. You don't need to be a super expert hacking team to run new tries. And that means that the continuous become even more important than ever. If you're running once a year validation, you're not relevant. You're going to be hacked much before, and until you're going to find it out, it's going to be changed 5 or 6 times. We're actually shifting most of our clients to almost daily or real time, depending on what they're asking, to make sure that if something happened, we can alert them before real damage has been done, or at least for a long time. And I fully agree with you, Omri, that you have to be a period, even with a long client of you that didn't send the campaign, by the way. The campaign is the same. No one touched the campaign. You still need to run. You still need to check.
Exactly. One more thing I think that's important is, this is not cliche or trying to be commercial here. I think culture always wins when it comes to Taboola. So, from governance point of view, so either that we are ISO compliant, and that requires you, by the way, to have a very structural workflows and compliance and features across security, privacy, legal, and business. Just the fact I think that we want to make this webinar with you, so we are highly appreciative to Reflectiz and companies like Reflectiz. So whenever that, if we miss something, the unlikely event, right? But we miss something, we have a bug bounty program, and we are highly responsive to fix and to mitigate any security vulnerability that we missed. And again, as they say, on the unlikely event. And we also use, and that's where AI comes to point of view. So AI is not just developer velocity and developer efficiency. It's also a security review of different code reviews and PRs, either that are relevant for direct cyber threat or threats that are exploiting the edtech chain. This is part of our culture. We want to believe that this is an essential thing for any company want to survive cyber and attacks on the AI era, either in attack or beyond.
Agree. Let me give you a nice example to something that we'll be seeing, I think, 6 months ago that was very all over, actually, the US, when we saw many of the sites suddenly get a TikTok pixel on them. And those TikTok was not approved by the clients. The client didn't know about it. But when they ran, the marketing team ran campaigns with TikTok and tried to do some kind of Gen Z or whatever they call today, to be in the web, they didn't understand, and they put a script of TikTok on their site with a Google Tag Manager, and didn't understand what happened behind the scene. Because for you, when you are doing a TikTok campaign, you believe maybe it's allowed TikTok, maybe they're getting presence to understand what's going on. But actually behind the scene, because a misconfiguration, and we can discuss why the misconfiguration happened, TikTok was able to read everything that was in the page the script was installed by default. You could disable it, but the marketing team didn't really think about it, and that's why they didn't disable it. And by default, TikTok read everything on the page, including username and password. So many times in a retail website, the login is part of the main page. So we don't have like a second dedicated page for the login. The login, user, and password is in the same page of the regular browsing, meaning the username and password fields are also visible to the other script that's running on the page. And then suddenly we started to send tons of alerts to our clients, and those were actually high alerts of TikTok reading username and password. And they didn't understand how it happened. Why the hell TikTok is trying to read my user password of my clients? And the answer was very simple. By default, in order to do better advertising, it tried to understand the inputs of the page, but because it had access to sensitive inputs in the page and no one excluded it, or no one told the TikTok don't read it or include it, depending on the settings, it takes the default access. And of course, we help our clients to remediate it ASAP and to verify it's not reading those type of data. And to be honest, it's not only TikTok. Probably the most common one is Facebook doing it. Facebook have something called smart matching. And by smart matching, those nice terms, meaning read all the inputs and said exactly which input belongs for which type of data. And again, in those smart matching, Facebook have access to read all the data that you allow him to read. The question is, did you allow him and did you really understand the threat landscape and do you really put it only on places that you are okay with what it's going to read? So for us and Reflectiz, as we said, we believe that all those third parties, all those open sources and fourth party need to be continuously monitored, and me and we discuss. We want to make sure, first of all, you approve to have them, you know they are there. And if you know they are there, do you know what they're supposed to do and you approve what they're supposed to do? If so, perfect, do it, do even more. But now at least you have the visibility and understanding of what you're actually running, and you can verify it's covering or not bypassing your threat landscape and not bypassing your entire SDLC process. As we discussed today with the AI speed, you actually probably need to run faster. That if in the past we had clients running a scan every 3 months or 6 months, I just don't see it relevant anymore, and I think you need to do it much faster. And not me, every article and every expert today will tell you that wait 3 months or 6 months is already waiting for the next attack. You don't know what's going to happen. And the supply chain, it's something that our clients really need to understand to their clients and future clients. It's complicated. It's not just one script that you have there that's doing stuff. Script can bring another script, can bring another script, and it can be actually we have incidents with like 8 or 9 layers of scripts of parents and children or whatever you call it. So you need to have the entire chain all the way to the end because again, as I said in the beginning, even this 8-level script, it have the same access. It have the same access of the first level script. The same thing in your JavaScript, anything on the browser, anything on the user browser have access to user activity. That's how browsers are built. We have some ways to reduce the risk. We're going to talk about it in the next slide. But in the end, you need to protect the entire chain. And to protect the entire chain, you need to know who have access to the chain, who can add new stuff to the chains, and if it does add stuff, to make sure they're only adding approved stuff and not doing stuff they're not supposed to do. Omri, let's say someone wants to start to use Taboola or another advertising tool. What is your advice in order to be protected, or at least to make sure they're earning the value and not jeopardizing their security level?
So first of all, we have mainly big advertisers. There is a compliance process to adhere to, to different standards, different stuff that we comply to. But generally speaking, we are trying to be transparent across the entire flow, right? So ensure that while we are trying to meet their standard, we require them to meet our standard, which is the content policy. We don't allow any form of advertiser or any form of tracking. We have to pre-approve some of the things and to ensure that they disclose everything they want to run through Taboola. We're not allowing everything to run, whenever a change is coming to a campaign or to a creative, so they will need to reapprove it. The boundaries are set and we are always internally maintain a clear SLA to respond if something bad happens. But generally speaking, I think that what we believe that any vendor that we work with or any client that we work with needs to meet are pretty much the same standard as Reflectiz is trying to impose. That's why we are really appreciative on what you bring to the world and what we are trying to improve, and pretty much it aligns on what we are recommending our clients and the vendors that we are working with.
Yeah. I actually also like your last sentence in the slide. A vendor that can't answer the questions is not malicious, but not monitored. And if it's not monitored, it's a risk. And of course, as a monitoring company, I fully agree. I will add a couple of my technical more tips. First of all, you can't always do it, but if you can run everything from tag managers, it's always better to have one chain of control. I know that some advertising tools can do it, but as a goal of project, if you run from tag managers, you maybe can create a general policies and then have a better tracking for it. If you do run on tag managers, disable the custom HTML option. So either disable the custom HTML option or at least make it under security approval. Custom HTML option, meaning that you're not using a marketplace or running a tool with a dedicated config, you just write directly HTML to your site. And if you write directly HTML to your site, you have your marketings become developers and breaking the entire SDLC. So if you can do it, if you need a customer HTML, sometimes you need, just make sure that you're running the pre-approval with the security teams and probably have some kind of Reflectiz or something else to make sure you're secured. If you have couple tag managers, try to reduce them to minimum. Like I see clients that have 3 or 4 or 5 different tag managers, it usually creates more problems than solutions. As classic security and inventory, you want your stock in one place. When you have couple tag managers, couple tags, you're going to start to forget stuff, start to lose stuff, or remove unneeded stuff. So the fewer, the better, and then you can wrap your own policy around it. Last item from my side, try to create a baseline. So let's assume you're approving those tags, you know what you have. Now, when something changes, create some kind of a process with you in the marketing digital team, whatever run those third parties, that they will tell you about new changes, but also will tell you what is the supposed activity need to be happen. So you and security teams can create some of ground rules of what is allowed, not allowed. If it's a script that need to read user inputs, let's put it only before login. I don't want to have a script reading inputs after login. If it's a script that sending data to locations, I don't know, outside of Europe, and you, let's say you are GDPR compliant, or you are from California and you care about CCPA, sometimes you can limit the geographic locations or present scripts based of geo. And for traffic from California, not to present those scripts, and particularly from brands to create those scripts. You can have all those. Of course, it creates more work and you need to understand how to do it. And part of the reason companies like Taboola or Reflectiz exist to try to help you do it better. But you are able to create those configurations to make sure you are not creating PII problem and you're not creating any security risk. I think those are my easy tips for today. Omri, before we wrap up, anything less you want to say?
I just want to repeat, I think the monitoring part, this is where you help the ecosystem and emphasize that if you have a vendor that cannot answer those questions or meet this bar, so they are not automatically malicious, but if you can't monitor them, that's a risk, and you need to keep that in mind if it's worth the business impact or the business value you want to achieve.
Good. And I will say that if anyone here have more questions to ask, you want to understand how it's working, why you have JavaScript that can be loaded without approval, how can I approve those JavaScript, or just get an easy inventory of all of the third parties, just go to Reflectiz website, sign up, you can easily run a scan and show you what you have. And if you want to have the leading advertising platform in the world, I probably will advise you to go to Taboola, not us, and see what they're doing. And as a security guy, I can say they're investing a lot in security. So that's already a good cue for me to tell them that if you care about security and maybe understand that is important, and they're also good in advertising, which they will say more than me. I think we're finishing for today. Thanks everyone for joining and listening. We are going to release another webinar soon about our offensive hub, the new agentic PT. Probably with our CTO, with my CTO, talking about why we built something very cool here. So stay in touch in our newsletter. And Omri, thanks a lot for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It was a great session, and thank you for everything that you're doing for the ecosystem.
Perfect. You too as well. Bye, everyone.